Alright, this I think is the fourth, or maybe it's the third in these series of how to take Autocad to Inventor. And so you see me finishing up here with that horizontal part, and now I'm going to begin a new assembly. So I had 3 parts made, which we're going to be doing some mirroring to and some hole drilling and all kinds of other stuff. I now want to remember that if I want to go in, I go into an assembly to put things together, and I hit OK. I want to make sure I'm in the right project, which was Autocad Gusset. I'm going to hit there. And what you're going to see me starting to do right here is to bring in parts and not worry too much about where they're placed. So I'm going to now place, I'm going to grab the first part. I guess I'll bring in the gusset plate. I'll hit open here, and I'm going to say yes, because the watermark is not a big issue. And there's my plate. When I'm done bringing it in, I hit done. There's my first plate. It's going to be bringing me into this kind of view here, right? Front view there. And I can kind of flip around up here like you might be used to from Autocad. I can now, however, go ahead and place another one, and this time I'm going to place the slanted. Place the slanted in here. It's going to should probably come in someplace. I'm going to place it somewhere nearby. It's not that important, though we'll see how those points, you're going to see when we go in here and double click on some of these things, double click on that again, you'll see eventually I can go ahead and look inside the sketch here. That's one sketch and in the wrong sketch, but that point does come in then, so we'll see how much we can use that for later. You notice the gusset is fixed down with that button there. It means it's grounded. It's kind of attached to the planet or the earth. We're going to change that a little bit. We've got now 2 parts in here. I am kind of on a regular basis going to get lost in here, but basically if I kind of close in and out, I'm back here, open. Okay, we're back to there. I'm going to close that part. I'm in the assembly and I'm kind of out of the part here. So I'm double clicking outside, and we can bring in one more now. We're going to place this time, we're going to place the horizontal one. We're going to go ahead and open it here. We're going to bring it in, say yes. We're going to just kind of place it arbitrary nearby. Right click, done. And now what you have is 3 pieces that are kind of not necessarily, they're next to each other and not necessarily what you need. So now this kind of concept, I'm spinning around here using my pan over here to how are you going to place these things so they kind of start to relate to each other. And you do that with the concept of constraints. And there is no great mastery in my part so far, but the ideas are there that you're going to kind of learn to constrain things, and the concept of how you constrain them is going to greatly influence how these things work. So you're going to constrain quite often by just getting things to be kind of plated against each other and then keeping track of the offset. So we'll do something here. I'm going to kind of try to turn this thing around. So I'm looking at it, I'm wheeling in and out from the bottom. I'm going to first and foremost constrain so these 2 bottom pieces are going to be mated in terms of being next to each other. And then I'm going to grab this piece, the top of this here, to the bottom of that one there. So let's start with the constrain. A typical one will be that we want those to be the same thing, right? I'm going to grab the mate, I'm going to grab that there, and I'm going to grab that one, and I'm going to hit apply. And it's kind of happened. You don't realize it's there. And the next thing I can do is then apply basically 2 edges, and I'm going to just try that edge there and that edge there. I'm going to try to make it an edge there. I'm going to grab this edge there. Sorry, other edge. I'm going to turn around here. I'm going to grab this edge here, and then I'm going to go around the back end of here and grab that edge there and hit apply and hit OK. See how that's working? And I think part of this is going to come down to the fact that that gusset is actually is grounded. So I'm going to go over here to the gusset. I'm going to right click and say it's no longer grounded, so it's not connected. And I'm going to try these one more time. We're not sure that they're going to work, and we're going to play around with these. You can kind of see that that is kind of lined up somewhat to what it needs to be, though it's not what we were asking it. So we're going to constrain. We're going to want this to be actually flush. That's probably part of the issue there. We want to grab the eye mate there. We're going to grab that one, come back on the other side and grab this one and hit apply. OK. That's not seemed to be working, but we'll keep going, struggle through here a little bit. And to go ahead, finally just going to pull that all the way across, and now kind of start to worry about maybe wanting to get some of these points around, adding some points into our assembly, so when we bring, or our parts, when we bring it in, everything tends to work. And so I'm going to try one final one here, which is constrain, once again, these faces flush, grab this, the front edge here and the front edge there, and wonder why it is not moving. So partly it's kind of okay here. I can kind of change, it is actually moving, so you'll see here what I missed there was the fact that I can go ahead and change some of these offsets. So we'll go through and do this a couple of times, but let me go ahead at least and see if I can get this one to work with this one a little bit better, since we can keep track of that offset set. So I'm going to try to get this one here, all right, the back side of this to the front side of that. I'm going to constrain. It's going to be mated. I'm going to grab the mate there. I'm going to grab the back side there, if I would, back side of that, and that's fine. And I'm going to grab then the front side of that, and I can set that offset to be 0, however. And now in this case, you'll see that's what I was trying to do before. So you have to keep track of not just the mate, but then the offsets. Now we'll see whether in fact I can do this once again. Let me just try a new constraint. Probably won't let me. I'm going to have these flush here and here, and now I can change the offset to 0.75. And it's not going to let me do it because I've got a couple other constraints. So we're going to look before the next video on how to actually go about and undo constraints. That's one thing here that we'll spend a little time on. But the fact is that you can do a bunch of undos, and I'm going to do that here. Undo, 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 undo. And then I guess we're back to here. Double click inside. Double click inside. I'll do a redo here. Redo. And now I've got my pieces. And so let's try this final time. We use up our 10 minutes. We're going to constrain the front of this to the front of that, and we're going to constrain the two sides, basically the back side of this to the top of that by hitting constrain here. We want it to be mated, if we would. We want it to be this way. It's going to be that side, and I'm using, kind of moving around here. That side is one, and this side is the other, and we want that to be actually 0. So it's kind of knowing where it is. Right now we've got that to be 0, and we hit an apply, and we're kind of where we want to be. So we've got that more or less in the right spot. It's going to be how we move it around that makes a difference, and we're now going to once again constrain the other one with, in fact, the same constraint. We're going to grab mate. We're going to grab this for one side and this for the other. And we're going to once again change that offset to 0. And we've kind of got these to some way, shape, or form. Not the way we completely want them, but we can start doing things like lining up one to the other and gets us to the center line. So that's one of the next things we'll do is we can try to perhaps try one last one and constrain, for instance, this to be flush, and I can actually grab now an edge and then perhaps a corner, and it's not going to let me do that. So I'm going to hit cancel and then undo. So the idea then of bringing things in and being able to move them around, right? Once you get them in there, you can kind of move them a little bit more and get them close. They're constrained to a degree on what you need, and what we really want to do here then is we'd like to get back to the point where we have these in that same kind of alignment that we did before, and that may be going back into the parts and getting some of those base points there. And this is in fact why you do a lot of this off of sketch blocks. So if you bring them all together in AutoCAD, you have your sketch blocks. But now if you want, you can kind of start coming around here and looking at these kind of processes and get this to a point where you can see the back side relatively well, and you can go around and see the front side. And the last thing we're going to do is learn here how to then put some holes in things, and we'll do that in the next video. in addition to getting these things kind of lined up in the right spot, and then get towards the video of how do you make renderings and animations. So almost there. Thanks for listening.